Caution creeps in ahead of the Fed and CPI on Wednesday. Welcome to Market Insights. I'm Paul Barber. US stocks have started the week flat, with investors moved to the sidelines ahead of key inflation data and a Federal Reserve meeting scheduled for this week. With jobs numbers coming in surprisingly strong last week, markets are dialing back expectations that a rate cut in September is on the cards. Meanwhile, Nvidia's 10-for-1 stock split aimed at luring retail investors has taken effect. Joining me now to talk about all of this is Shana Sissel, CEO of Banríon Capital Management. Welcome back to the programme, Shana. So attention this week turns to the Consumer Price Index inflation data for May and the conclusion of the Fed's two-day policy meeting, both scheduled for Wednesday. With inflation looking sticky, what's your bet on whether the central bank will move on rates or keep them steady?
So I have always been of the belief that the Fed would hold steady through the year unless something really extreme happened. I haven't seen any evidence that suggests that the Fed has seen enough to make them want to cut anytime soon. So I continue to believe that they'll stand pat. If they do cut in September, I'm not entirely convinced it'll be because the economic numbers justify it. I think it would be more likely a political move in advance of the election.
All right, Shana, let's switch to tech now. Weekly gains last week were led by a nearly 4% rise in the S&P 500's IT sector. That index gets two new web-focused additions, CrowdStrike and GoDaddy, later this month. Nvidia, of course, especially a bright point. Can you put things in perspective for us, just about how big an impact artificial intelligence is having and what Nvidia has been able to achieve and where it's going?
Well, yes. I mean, today is the day for the Apple Worldwide Developers Conference, and we expect to have Apple make some announcements related to AI, and they've kind of been the laggard in that space. Nvidia is by far and away the leader. I started hearing about Nvidia being used for self-driving vehicles and other AI and machine learning types of tools back in 2017. Now those things are coming to fruition, and more focus is on every single sector of the economy worldwide, finding ways to incorporate AI and machine learning into their businesses. I know we do here at Banríon. And so I think this is the wave of the future, and we are still very early. And with Nvidia kind of being the market leader as it pertains to cloud services and chips that support AI, they will continue to do quite well. And that's exactly what we've seen in the last year in terms of their earnings.
And what is Nvidia's 10-for-1 stock split aimed at? And could that stock end up being included on the blue chip Dow?
So I have some opinions on the 10-for-1 stock split. In the world of fractional shares, it is not necessarily something that is required as it once was. In the past, companies would do stock splits to make their share price more attractive to retail investors, so that retail investors could participate in buying the stocks. In the world of fractional shares, that's not entirely necessary anymore. That's why we see stocks like Chipotle at like $3,000 because you can buy fractional shares. Now, I don't think most people realize that they can buy fractional shares. So in many ways, I think this is a bit of a marketing move, attempting to make it more attractive to smaller investors to continue to bring momentum into the stock. But overall, I think it's a positive and a tailwind to the stock as more people jump in as they feel like they can access the stock now.
Apple stock is up ahead of the opening of that annual developer conference that you mentioned. Integrating artificial intelligence across its software seems likely to be a focus. What else are you expecting?
Well, I'm hearing that the artificial intelligence tools that they'll be adding will only be available on the iPhone 15. So if that is true and the tools that they introduce are compelling enough, you could see a small increase in iPhone sales as people move to the latest edition of the iPhone so they can take advantage of these tools. But do keep in mind, we're a couple months out from them introducing the iPhone, the next iPhone. And so some people might wait if they already have the 15. But I think you could see a small uptick in iPhone sales, which is really the bread and butter of Apple's business.
And finally, Shana, turning to electric vehicles, what impact could US tariffs on Chinese goods have on the American automaker sector?
Well, I'm not really really sure. We've actually seen decreased demand for EVs here in the US for a variety of reasons. My main reason why I didn't buy an EV when I bought a new car earlier this year was because we simply don't have the infrastructure built. So I don't know how much is going to impact automakers here in the US unless there's retaliatory tariffs from the Chinese, which is entirely possible. But in the US, as far as demand goes, I don't think it affects US automakers. I do think it could affect US automakers' demand abroad as a result of retaliatory tariffs.
We'll leave it there, Shana. Thank you so much for your thoughts. That's Shana Sissel, CEO of Banríon Capital Management. And that is your Market Insight. You can watch more videos on Reuters.com.